Hi, this is Les-Levine, the self-proclaimed voice of truth and reason in Ohio sports. Yesterday was the second time the Browns got a win but didn't get much time to enjoy it. First, of course, was the game with Myles Garrett against Pittsburgh, and now Odell Beckham and Baker-Mayfield made some noise. Come on, guys, there's not that many wins to go around. As far as trading Beckham is concerned, he's got a couple years more left on his contract. Make him play it out. The Browns didn't trade for him to get 1 year out of him. Let's see what he's really made of. Dan Labbe is here from cleveland.com, and the plain dealer, More Sports and Les-Levine, is on the air. From the worldwide headquarters of More Sports and Les-Levine, it's a Monday night. It's a brand new week. Good evening, everyone. Welcome once again to More Sports and Les-Levine into its 24th consecutive year and seen exclusively on cleveland.com. Dan Labbe of cleveland.com and the plain dealer is here. Just another weekend down at the old ball yard, huh, Dan?
Yeah, right. Just like we've seen over and over again. The Browns keep winning, which is a little surprising, but well, same old.
Yeah. You know what? If they reversed the schedule and put this half as the first half, we'd be really disappointed now, running out to a great run at the beginning and then playing real teams.
Yeah, that's true. And here they are. They've won 4 out of 5 games, and you wouldn't know it if people didn't just come out and say, hey, the Browns have won 4 out of 5 games. It feels really strange. That's
sort of what I alluded to in my Truth and Reason comment, that you had the Myles Garrett incident, so you didn't get to enjoy the Pittsburgh win. Then you have this where Odell Beckham Jr. and Baker Mayfield double-barrel attacks, one on the doctoral staff, which I don't think I've ever heard that before.
I can't think of a time when I've heard that, at least in this sort of situation.
Right.
Trent Williams in Washington kind of went after Washington's medical staff, but that's a long history of mismanagement there.
Right.
This kind of came out of nowhere.
Where did Baker get his doctor's degree?
I hear Oklahoma has a great medical school, right? I don't know.
I'm sure they do.
They probably do.
216-575-0403 is the number to call. Dan Labbe is here. All right, Dan, you had a quote in your your article today that just jumped out at you. You basically said this has been a confusing collection of talent, leaving mostly uninspiring performances in their wake. All right, so here's what I get out of that. I get out of that John Dorsey's in one room in the headquarters, in the building, as they say. Freddie-Kitchens is in another, and so Dorsey goes and gets guys and doesn't tell Freddie about it, and Freddie doesn't know what to do with him once he gets them. Is that basically what happens here?
Sometimes it feels a little bit like that. And you kind of go back to Dorsey's Kansas City days, and he threw a lot of talent at the wall, and Andy Reid was able to, and still is able to, make a lot of that talent work.
Right.
And Freddie-Kitchens just hasn't been able to kind of find that mix, and then he added Kareem-Hunt back in. And that's one thing he's done well, is work nick-chubb and Kareem-Hunt into the game plan outside of the first half yesterday. And it just hasn't translated to any sort of, there's no style points, there's nothing. When they win games, it's really ugly, and then there's all the drama surrounding it. It's just hard to figure out what this football team is.
We'll talk about it a little bit later about putting guys in and not knowing what to do with them. I mean, that's basically, it's so hard to believe that that's what happens, but that has to be what happens. But we'll talk about the running game before, but the running game was non-existent in the first half. Not that it wouldn't have worked, they just didn't go to it.
Yeah, they only had 3 carries each for Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Baker-Mayfield was your leading rusher at halftime.
And that's against Cincinnati.
Yeah, and this was the worst running defense in the league. And on top of that, Mayfield was playing with an injured hand. And whatever that injury is, and he didn't have the wrap on it, he clearly wasn't the same Baker Mayfield that we've seen before.
Yeah, so
I
hand
believe
the ball
he was
off.
7 of 16 in the first half, turned the ball over twice. I mean, run the ball against that defense and just get out of there with an easy
win. You got 2 of the best runners in the game. You got the best, say what you want about the Browns' offensive line. It's doing something right to get the top 2 of the top 2 running backs.
Yeah, and the other thing is you can't just abandon the run. Freddie said after the game yesterday that he needs to see more than 2 and 3 yards. He needs to see more than 2 and 3 yard runs to keep calling them. Well, the run game doesn't work like that. Sometimes you call a run and you get 2 yards, then you call it again and you get 3, and then you break one. Like yesterday, you break that 57-yarder.
The longer you go, the more tired the defense gets.
Yeah, and you've just got to kind of keep at it and keep pounding. And they don't need to be the 49ers, but they're in the middle of the league rushing. When you're going against that defense, you've got to run the ball more.
But tell me how Freddie would even think that way. He's been around the league. I know he hasn't been in this position before, but he's been around the league long enough to know that 2 yards, all right, you'd rather get 4, but if you get 2 on the first one, maybe you'll get 4, 6, or 8 on the next one. How does he not know that?
Yeah, I just think sometimes what we've seen from Freddie as a play caller is every now and again he'll get a little bit impatient. He won't necessarily set things up. He'll just kind of get to what he wants to do. He'll pull out that trick play. A contrast of it was the Jarvis-Landry reception yesterday. That was perfectly timed. They set it up kind of over the course of the game, but we don't see a lot of that from him. Things just building and building and building. I think he gets a little impatient.
All right, so help me out on this. Beckham frustrated clearly. For whatever reason, he's not getting targeted. His best friend, Jarvis-Landry, is not only gets targeted, makes catches that you may not even expect him to make. Yeah. So here's one guy who I guess is happy other than not winning or not being in the playoffs, and the other guy, his best friend, allegedly wants out. How does that happen?
I just think with Odell, this is a guy that he's putting up some of the worst numbers of his career. He was targeted 5 times yesterday, only had 2 catches. And I do think this is a guy that wants to win, obviously, and get to the playoffs, but he wants to put up numbers too. He wants to be in the Hall of Fame one day. He wants to go down as one of the best receivers ever. And he's just not getting the football. And I think there's a certain level of frustration that comes with that. And meanwhile, with Jarvis-Landry, you've got a guy that Baker Mayfield has really developed a connection with. And that seems to be sort of Baker's MO so far in his career. If he develops a connection with you, he's going to find you with the football.
Okay, 6 and 7. They keep talking like they're not out of it. A lot of things have to happen. They could happen. I mean, if Pittsburgh lost yesterday, we might be talking about a different story right now, or at least a different outlook. So what does freddie-kitchens need to do to keep his job, or is it sealed one way or the other right now?
I honestly don't think it's sealed. I think if he were to somehow get this team to the playoffs, it's really hard to then turn around and say, you know what, we're going to fire you. You can make the case that maybe you don't believe he can get you beyond, whatever wild card weekend. But I think if he were to make the playoffs or even get this team to 9 and 7 and make it interesting in Week 17, it might be hard for John Dorsey to turn around and say, I'm going to fire this guy, especially because Dorsey's the one that hired him.
Well, they're tied at the hip.
Yeah, exactly. He was Dorsey's first real coaching hire.
Right.
If he gets you right on the fringe of the playoffs, maybe you do run it back and see if, you make some roster improvements, he does better.
You sort of forget that Freddie hasn't been a head coach before, but you forget that Dorsey hadn't hired a head coach before.
Yeah, that was his first time kind of going through that process, conducting those interviews and actually picking the guy.
Do you think both guys have learned anything at this point, 13 games into the season?
I hope so.
Well, we all hope so, but is any tangible evidence?
I actually think Freddie-Kitchens has learned a few hard lessons. I think the T-shirt, for maybe as overblown as that got, I think it taught him that, look, you're in the spotlight all the time, 24/7, and things like that are going to blow up. And especially when you go out and lose that game.
He's got to know that.
Yeah, you've got to be better than that. And I think he's learned. I think he even said last week, the 24/7 nature always being on has been a little bit surprising to him.
And if it is 24/7, eventually the media and him are going to have a dust-up somewhere along the line.
Yeah, that's the other thing. It was kind of smooth sailing for him during training camp and in the spring, because that's how it works. Yeah. Everybody's 0-0 in the spring. You start losing some games, that relationship starts to change.
216-575-0403 is the number to call. You can email us during the show at real-levine@gmail.com. Tomorrow night, Bud Shaw will join us. Dan Labbe is with us tonight. Here's the stat of the month. Did you know that there are over $3 million paid on Ohio Lottery scratch-offs every day? Give the gift of winning this holiday season with the popular Ohio Lottery scratch-offs like Holiday Cash, Holiday Lucky times 2, and of course times 10 rather, and Merry Millions, all from the Ohio Lottery. You can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/more-sports-and-les-levine with new content posted each and every day. We'll get to some of your thoughts a little bit later. More Sports and Les Levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
Presque Isle Downton Casino now has sports betting. Use one of the 50 state-of-the-art Bet America kiosks to place your bet. Then watch your favorite games on our new HD televisions or visit our new sportsbook area. Only at Presque Isle Downton Casino.
As a kid growing up, my dream was to go to college, play baseball, and get a degree. Coming out of high school, I had two choices. I was accepted into a four-year university, but I decided to come to Tri-C after receiving a scholarship. I got my associate's degree at Tri-C. They transferred all my credits straight into Baldwin-Wallace, so I started at Baldwin-Wallace University as a junior. My name is Tyler Leonard, and I earned my first degree at Tri-C.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohio-lottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery, Partners in Education, where stars shine.
This portion of More Sports and Les Levine brought to you by Northeast Factory Direct. Cliff Hagan, Hall of Famer from the early days of the NBA, born in this state. The Deacon Jones. Dick Butkus, what, already there? You get Deacon Jones and Dick Butkus, you've got a good day. Jack Rabbit from 1947, a real quick runner. And World Be Free, Otis Birdsong, all born on the 9th of December. 216-575-0403. So, just in general, before we look at the graphics, I think it's obvious, Odell Beckham has been underutilized, right?
It seems like it. The ball hasn't come his way enough, and I don't know if that's the play calling. I don't know if it's the quarterback just not being comfortable with him. And look, Odell Beckham has had some opportunities where he hasn't made plays.
True.
But for the most part, maybe they're trying to force the ball to him too much sometimes. Honestly,
why? Because
it's kind of a mix.
Because Baker's trying to make it work?
Yeah, I think we've seen situations where they force the ball. I think the play yesterday, the overturned pass interference or non-pass interference.
Phony call, by the way.
Yeah, you didn't think it was pass interference?
Well, I didn't think they would call it because they haven't called that all year.
I was a little surprised that it got overturned. Maybe that was the star power of Odell helping out there. But that was a ball that really, I think, got forced to Odell. So it's just a mix of when the ball is going to him, it's not in great situations. And then when there's times when he's open and it's not going his way.
I got a fundamental question about Freddie-Kitchens. Seems to me he's like you and me sitting in my family room watching the game, and we don't like the fact that a call wasn't made. It seems to me Freddie, there's no rhyme nor reason to him challenging calls. He does it out of frustration, or he's saying to the referee, "I'll show you. I'm gonna throw this this flag here."
Yeah.
Is there you've got to assume there's something in place upstairs that says when you're going to call, when you're not. But I've seen too many times this year he's called for a challenge when he hasn't even waited to hear what they have to say upstairs.
He's thrown some quick challenge flags, and especially at home, it feels like that crowd gets going a little bit.
Yeah, well,
and then he gets Jarvis-Landry in his ear or somebody else in his ear, one of these outsized personalities.
Who cares what they say?
Going to throw the challenge flag just to be a player's coach, and you can't do that.
No, you got to wait. Timeouts are way too valuable.
The timeouts are too valuable, and you only get 2 challenges. Now, if you win both of them, you get a third.
Right.
But you start wasting those. The Patriots didn't have a challenge yesterday, and they could have used one.
That's
in
a
their
bad
game.
rule, though. If you're right, why should you lose the challenge?
Yeah, I agree. Give it back if you get it right. Maybe so you don't have to win both of them to get a third. You just get it back.
And by the way, the most needless job, maybe in all of sports, is the referee in the booth because he's never right. He may be right, but then the guys on the field are never right.
Yeah, and I don't understand why you don't just, let them. I know they do a lot of reviews in New York, but
All
the
of them should
referees
be.
on the field kind of get to make the final decision.
Why?
And, why not just have the guys in New York
Just
say, hey,
say-
this is the call. Go. This is the correction. You were wrong.
Yeah,
go correct
Hey,
it.
on line 2 in the Cleveland game, I want you to check this out, right? While
Yeah.
you guys are eating pizza and playing poker, somebody look at the monitor and make a call.
Yeah, they're not really in the flow of the game.
No,
They're
just
kind
whatever
of
they
like
see, they
looking
see.
at the call.
Then they don't even know what the referee called on the field. That's the dumbest rule of all in the replay part of it. That, well, they called it this way on the field, so there has to be certain evidence. No, if it's on the field and it's wrong, it's wrong. If it's not on the field and it's wrong, that's wrong too.
Yeah, I've always thought you should just look at the play.
Yeah.
And forget what the call was. Just look at the play and then recall it. And
I'm
if
with
it's
you.
right,
You and I are going to overturn
Great.
all of the NFL
we're
rules.
changing the replay system
America one day at a
single-handedly.
time. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. Do you think Odell wants to get out of Cleveland? Or is this...
Jay Glazer is the one who reported that Odell would be traded.
Right.
He's a guy that I think knows what he's talking about when he reports these things. You've got to take him seriously.
Well, there's two edges to this sword. One is he may or may not want out. And number two, John Dorsey has to want him out or want him to stay.
Yeah, that's the thing. John Dorsey has control. This is supposedly the emergence of the player empowerment era in the NFL, but John Dorsey still has control, and he gave up a first-round pick for
Right.
Odell Beckham, so I don't think he's going to want to just give him up after one
All
season.
right, a couple of things on Beckham. I'll be honest with you, I didn't watch every play he ever made with the Giants. How about you?
No,
Okay.
I didn't.
So I don't know if the sports hernia or whatever it is, if it's holding him back or if he's really showing guts or team play or whatever. Are you under the impression it's bothering him? And are you under the impression they should have shut him down at least at the beginning of the exhibition season?
I think when Baker-Mayfield comes out and says what he said, I think, whether it was the right thing to say or not, I think there's something behind it, that maybe he believes maybe Odell Beckham needed to take care of it, or however he feels about it. Maybe he thinks Odell should have taken care of it. But I do think it has affected him. It kept him out of training camp for a little while, and
Right.
he already missed all
He
of
kept
spring.
himself out of training camp.
Yeah, and he didn't play in any preseason games, and I think we're seeing some after effects of that.
Okay, so now there are some reports he's going to undergo off-season surgery for this sports hernia. After what Baker said, will he trust the Cleveland doctors or will he go elsewhere? And by the way, through collective bargaining, does he have a choice in the matter?
I believe he can go where he wants to go. I think he has that choice, especially in the offseason. And look, Odell's a very independent person,
Right.
And he talks about, why he didn't come to spring practices is because he knows his body, he knows how to train. So I would think if he has the real option to go to someone that he wants to go to, he will. I don't know if that's a statement on the Browns medical staff, but I just think Odell is going to do what he wants to do.
Let me just tell you, and I think you know this, that he can go wherever he wants to go, and I know New York has this big lure. Our doctors, our hospitals, every bit as good as anywhere in the world,
Yeah.
let alone in the country or in the state.
Yeah, I think I would trust them with
Yeah.
whatever needed to be done.
216-575-0403, Northeast Factory Direct, Northeast Factory Direct with 3 locations plus the website, northeastfactorydirect.com. East, west, and south. The south, of course, is Macedonia. It's a new one on Freeway Drive. Lakeland Boulevard, that's the old B&B Appliance building. In Euclid and West 140th Street, not too far from the airport. That's in the west side of Cleveland. Northeast Factory Direct. You're going to save a lot of money. That's all they are 3 big, huge, big bare bones warehouses filled with some of the same stuff you're going to see elsewhere, but it's going to be half price or even more off than that. And they can do that because they don't pay fancy rent. And in fact, they pay about 1/10 what the big box stores pay for rent. They pass the savings on to you. We'll come back in a moment. Northfields Park is your home for live and simulcast racing. A lot of stuff happening in the month of December. On the 14th, you've got Santa Sac Fan Appreciation Night. Santa Sac prize drawings. Enter for a chance to win cash, gift cards, electronics, concert tickets, big screen TVs, and much more. And more importantly, a visit with Santa from 6 to 9 p.m. Northfield Park, free admission, free parking every day. We'll come back in a moment. Dan Labbe is with us. More Sports and Les-levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
Get your basement ready for the holidays.
There was moisture in the basement. It ruined the carpeting. The smell was terrible. We didn't feel safe in our own basement, and that's when we called Nature's Stone.
And with Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty, you will never have to replace your basement flooring again. For a limited time, get Nature's Stone installed now and pay nothing until next year. Payments as low as $99 a month. No interest, no down payment. Schedule your free cost estimate easily online today. It's not just a floor. Wow, it's Nature's Stone.
National Holidays expert Mary here with a list of holidays you won't want to miss. Get your Ohio Lottery Merry Million scratch-offs for National Donut Day, National Have a Party with Your Bear Day, Pickle Day, National Unique Talent Day, Take a Hike Day, and America's favorite, National Jukebox Day. Every day is a reason to celebrate. Grab a Merry Millions and other Ohio Lottery holiday scratch-offs today.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget, Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Time for a How Come Quickie. Help me out on this one, Dan. If former Heisman Trophy winners get to vote each year, how come Archie Griffin doesn't get 2 votes?
He should get 2.
He should, shouldn't he?
I agree. I'm on board with
I'll
this.
give him mine. I voted. I can't tell you who I voted for.
I know. That's the crazy. Like,
Can't
you
do it
can't tell
until-
anyone who you voted for.
I wonder why that is. You can't do it. I've already voted. I think the deadline is 5 o'clock today, and you're not allowed to say it until after the official announcement is made as to who won.
I guess they don't want any leaks. They want that show in New York to be a big deal.
You know what else is interesting? All right, I fessed up. I'm a voter. You can't find that anywhere. Not just me.
Like who votes?
If you go Googled who votes for the Heisman, it'll give you something generic. It'll say, well, the 50 or so Heisman winners, they get a vote. That's why the Archie Griffin thing is so hysterically funny. But it doesn't say who in Ohio, who in anywhere. Yeah. I suppose you can, I don't know if you wanted to find out, there's no one place you can go to. By the way, this More Sports and Les-Levine segment brought to you by Tri-C, where futures begin. Dan Labbe with us from cleveland.com and the Plain Dealer. All right, you mentioned it before. Nick-Chubb and Kareem-Hunt got a combined 6 carries in the first half. At least they were equal. Each one got 3.
Yeah, at least they split them up.
Let's take a look. See what, there you go, Nick-Chubb on top. Then he got 12 carries in the second half. And all he did is put up 99 yards in that one in the second half. Kareem-Hunt got 6 carries in the second half, 18 yards, and a touchdown. I'm surprised. He's been a good addition to this club. I didn't think he was going to be.
He really has. And, you know, in Kansas City, he really was one of the best backs in the league. And I think he flew under the radar a little bit. Even though he won that rushing title, he flew under the radar because it was Kansas City, and it was this high-powered offense.
And
you had
Mahomes
weapons
is
everywhere.
there.
Yeah, you had Mahomes and Andy Reid calling the plays, and I think he flew under the radar a little bit. And of course, you know, he wasn't a big college back. He came out of Toledo. Not a lot of people knew about him necessarily.
Speaking of that, somebody makes decisions on, for example, Cleveland area TV watched yesterday's game between Pittsburgh and Arizona.
Yeah.
When you had you tell me, you had New England and Kansas
New England
City.
And the Chiefs, yeah.
Yeah. Now there wasn't a second game, I don't think, on the other station.
I don't think there was.
So you didn't get to see that phenomenal game. I don't get it.
Maybe they felt like people in Cleveland wanted to scout Arizona. I don't know.
How about on the San Francisco game with New Orleans? They figured out that there's never been a 48-46 game in the history of the NFL. How do they know that so quick?
I don't know. You see all these weird scores now too, with the 2-point conversions and missed extra points. And somebody just sits on Pro Football Reference all day and figures it out.
I heard somewhere today on radio that if you go for a 2-point conversion and it gets blocked and then something happens and there's a penalty, you get 1 point out of it. Check that out for me.
Have to look into that. I know if you return it, I know the NFL adopted that high school and college rule that if you return it, you get 2 points.
You get 2 points because that's what the other team was going for.
Yeah.
Somehow you can get 1 point.
Huh. Well, now I got to look into that.
I think what they said is you could lose a game 6-1 because if you score a touchdown and you go for 2 and something crazy happens, the other team gets 1. I don't know. Here's the one I'm waiting.
Stumped on that one.
Here's the one I'm waiting to see happen. You know, when you kick a team punts the ball. Let's say my team punts to you near midfield and near the end of the half. And you call for a fair catch at the 50, let's say.
Yeah.
Then you can have a free kick.
Didn't somebody try that this year?
I don't know about that.
Somebody did it this year. And
I'd like to see it work and be the difference in a Super Bowl and have everybody totally ticked off at the NFL.
Somebody finally tried it, and I can't remember who
this
it was. Yes, and I remember John Madden used to always talk about it and wanted to see somebody do it. And I wish I could remember the game, but it didn't work. But I know somebody tried.
Let's go back to the graphics there and tell me why it happened. How could that have been the game plan? To not have these guys rush the ball.
Freddie-Kitchens must have come in and thought that he had something in the pass game. And Cincinnati is not a great pass defense. But again, you had Baker-Mayfield with that hand injury. You're still trying to figure out your receiving game a little. You have these 2 great backs. You can turn and hand the ball off and still find some things in the passing game. And it's not like Cincinnati came out and took a 10-0 lead. You had a 7-6 lead at the end of the first quarter.
Could it possibly be Freddie thinking, all right, I know they think I'm going to run, so I'm not going to run and I'll pass, and then when they think we're going to pass, I'll start running. Do you think that's possibly what happened?
That was the thought that I had, that maybe he was doing the old rock, paper, scissors thing where you're convinced somebody's going to throw rocks, so you're just going to throw paper regardless.
Exactly. 216-575-0403. What do you remember? Because I remember what I picked at the beginning of the season. I said 10-6 and make the playoffs. I don't like that pick right now in this position. Do you remember what you picked?
I said 10-6 too, and I thought they'd be in contention for the division. Yeah. I thought they'd be in contention with Pittsburgh for the division. So I was just wrong across the board. I just felt like if they could get through the first half of that schedule at 4-4, or even at 3-5, they could kind of run through this second half a little bit. And I wasn't sure what Baltimore was going to be. I mean, I don't think anybody really expected Baltimore to be this good.
No,
so
in fact,
I said 10-6 and contending for the division, and at the very least playing wild card weekend.
I said Lamar Jackson is a flash in the pan. How'd I do on that one?
I didn't do great either. Because
he's got to be the MVP, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think especially after the game Russell Wilson had last night, which wasn't a terrible game, but I think Lamar has a lot.
216-575-0403. Tri-C, where futures begin. Explore your future and find a program that puts you on the path to a bright future from Tri-C. When we come back, we'll talk about Ohio State and Clemson. Do you think that was the right move, the way they put 1 through 4?
I do.
You think?
Yeah, I think they got it right.
Okay, we'll see about that. We'll see if the people in Vegas have it right also. We'll take a break, come on back in a moment. More sports and Les-Levine, seen exclusively on cleveland.com.
As a kid growing up, my dream was to go to college, play baseball, and get a degree. Coming out of high school, I had 2 choices. I was accepted into a 4-year university, but I decided to come to Tri-C after receiving a scholarship. I got my associate's degree at Tri-C. They transferred all my credits straight into Baldwin-Wallace, so I started at Baldwin-Wallace University as a junior. My name is Tyler Leonard, and I earned my first degree at Tri-C.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohio-lottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
It takes attention to detail. With your local Bryant dealer, you're getting more than just a technician. You're getting someone who pays attention to your needs and the little things that make a big difference. It takes a dealer you can rely on. And to keep your family warm this winter,
Here, let me show you how this works.
It takes Bryant.
Bryant. Whatever it takes.
This day in sports history brought to you by Smiley One Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing. December 9th, 1955, the 21st Heisman Trophy awarded to Ohio State running back Howard Hopalong Cassidy. What a great name. They don't have nicknames like that anymore.
No, nobody's ever Hopalong.
Hopalong, who just passed away a couple of months ago down in Columbus. 216-575-0403. Here we go again. Apparently, now the Browns played Cincinnati yesterday.
Yes.
Cincinnati plays New England next week. So apparently, they're allegedly Cincinnati saying that there was an incident in the press box where the Patriots were filming something in there. At the same time, the Browns were filming something for their own production, video production, the PR end of it. But now, what does Bill Belichick need to spy on Cincinnati for?
Well, I think it was, what the Patriots are saying is that they had a scout there, and for a documentary that they're working on, they were filming, the scout was actually being filmed.
They, the Browns?
No, the Patriots.
They, the Patriots, okay.
And so the Patriots scout was being filmed. I guess he was approved to be there by the Browns, and the filming in the press box was approved by the Browns. And both teams have copies of the tape, but the reputation of the Patriots kind of follows them around in situations
like this. Were there any
this.
Houston Astros anywhere nearby at all?
Banging on trash cans? I didn't hear any banging on trash cans in the press box.
Well, you got to get your hearing aid checked out. All right, is it much ado about nothing? Ohio State ranked second, or is first that much more important?
I think it's much ado about nothing. Obviously, you get a tougher opening matchup with Clemson as opposed to Oklahoma, but I think the four teams are all really good. I think anybody looking at Oklahoma and saying that they can't win, they've got a quarterback that has been in the playoff before. That's still a good football team.
This might be the best two matchups maybe since the college football playoff began.
Yeah, I think
there's four teams who legitimately can win.
Yeah, I think you can make a case for those top three. And like I said, even with Oklahoma, that's a coach that's been there before. That's a quarterback that's been there before. You just never know what can happen.
And
in those
great
situations.
storylines. Joe Burrow against Ohio State and so on. And also, what I was surprised about, when did it start? 2014 is when the playoffs started, I believe.
I think so.
That's the
I
Cardale
just remember
Jones.
Ohio State was the one that won it.
Yeah. So you have that situation where the number one seed has not won the playoffs before. That's hard to believe.
I think it's really hard because you wait so long. They're not going to play these games till December 28th, and then you have like another 2 weeks between games. I think it's really difficult. There's no momentum at all.
Yeah, no question about that. Let's take a look at the two teams, Ohio State and Clemson. The offensive comparison, let's see. Pretty close stuff. Ohio State 48.7 points per game. Hey, by the way, some of the teams that look like not very good teams on Ohio State's schedule, they turned out Miami, for example.
Yeah.
A couple of those teams. Cincinnati.
Cincinnati turned out to be really good. I mean, Wisconsin is a really good football team. Penn State obviously is very good. That schedule turned out to be tougher than I think a lot of people gave them credit for.
How about this 14 turnovers for each team? Ohio State only one turnover as far as interceptions are concerned. Let's take a look at the defensive comparisons and see what we've got there. Clemson giving up 10.6 points a game, the Buckeyes 12.5, and yardage pretty darn close. Turnovers 28 versus 25. Should be a good game. Las Vegas says that Clemson is a 2-point favorite in that game, while LSU is a 10-point favorite over Oklahoma. Now we'll take a look at some individual players. Trevor Lawrence, see what, you didn't hear much about it. He was on everybody's list last year, and I'm not sure, that's not a bad resume that he's got for this past year.
I just think Clemson didn't play a lot of high-profile games. He sort of was flown under the radar, but, scouts are going to be watching him against that Ohio State defense.
Yeah, although 8 interceptions, kind of a staggering number, I would think. But 232 completions out of 337, 3172 yards, 34 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. Of course, Travis Etienne is their running back. 182 carries, 1,500 yards even, 8.2 yards per carry, 17 touchdowns on the game, or on the season. T. Higgins is another person to watch out for. He's a wide receiver. He had 52 catches, 1,082 yards, 20.8 yards per reception, and 13 touchdowns on the year. Now, Ohio State won't have guys that give you staggering numbers. That's because they spread it around, and they got so many weapons. I don't know where you begin.
Yeah, but everybody knows about the quarterback.
Yep.
We saw what Dobbins was able to do running the football in the Big Ten championship game. I think what you love about college football is maybe week to week it can be a little bit of a grind with the mismatches, but you get to this stage, I mean, it's just talent on top of talent just going against each other. It's a lot of fun.
It is fun. In Ohio State, I've said it before, I'm not sure what's better, the offense or the defense. I mean, we've seen good offensive teams from Ohio State, good defensive teams. I don't think we've ever seen anyone that combines the two like this.
Yeah, and the exciting thing too is Justin Fields is going to be back next year.
Right.
So you're going to have an opportunity to really build off of whatever he does in this playoff. And you don't always get that opportunity when you're at a school that produces quarterbacks. And we know, obviously, Joe Burrow couldn't even find playing time at Ohio State.
It's
so
an
to have a guy be
unbelievable
able
story.
to come back is
It's an
great.
unbelievable story.
Yeah.
At 216-575-0403 is the number to call. And Dan Labbe here from cleveland.com and the Plain Dealer. What are you looking for the last 3 games of the year for the Browns?
Well, you'd like to see them win all 3,
Yeah.
but I really want to see that rematch against Baltimore. I think we're going to learn a lot about this football team.
And they'll need it. Baltimore will need the game.
Baltimore's going to need it because they're playing for a bye. The Browns are going to need it because they'll still be in playoff contention. Obviously, they have to go take care of business against Arizona.
Yeah. And 3 feet of snow.
Yeah. I'll see, that would be fun. That would be good for the Browns. But you beat them 40-25. You're the last team that beat them, but that was at the end of September. These teams are very different right now, so I want to see how the Browns manage with Lamar Jackson without Myles Garrett, who I think is a big part of why they were able to contain him.
No question about that. Northeast Factory Direct, east, west, and to the south. 4 locations. If you include the website, you want to check that out before you go to the stores, northeastfactorydirect.com. You're going to save plenty of money, and you're going to get your furniture is going to be every bit as good as it's anywhere else, except you're not going to pay anywhere near the amount you're going to pay at the big box stores. If you want nice big ticket items to improve your home and you want to pay half price or half of what most people pay, then you've got to go to Northeast Factory Direct. Bottom line is nobody's going to touch their everyday savings or their quality. When we come back, we'll check out the Facebook question of the day. You're going to like it. More Sports and Les Levine continues with Dan Labbe exclusively on cleveland.com.
Get your garage ready for the holidays.
We had some cracks in the floor. We needed to enhance the beauty of it. That's when we called Nature Stone.
Nature Stone corrects uneven concrete, so you don't have to worry about tripping or slipping. And with Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty, you will never have to replace your garage floor again. For a limited time, get Nature Stone installed now and pay nothing until next year. Payments as low as $99 a month. No interest, no down payment. Schedule your free cost estimate easily online today. It's not just a floor. Wow, it's Nature Stone.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a line. A long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Presque Isle Downton Casino now has sports betting. Use one of the 50 state-of-the-art Bet America kiosks to place your bet. Then watch your favorite games on our new HD televisions or visit our new sportsbook area. Only at Presque Isle Downton Casino.
Let's look at this date in Les Levine history. Dan, this is way before your time, 1954. Les and his father always watched the Jack Benny Show together. They both thought the funniest line ever was when a robber came up to Jack and said, "Your money or your life?" And Jack Benny says, "I'm thinking it over." It's a line that's 60 years old or whatever. That still hangs in there.
Holds up.
Good stuff. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. We asked a Facebook question of the day. Thought it was Mike Bacon did a great job on this one. Finish the sentence. Odell Beckham is. Well, you finish this. You start. Odell Beckham is what?
Worth the headaches.
Worth the headaches.
I really think he is. If you get him involved and get him the football, his big playability, I think he's worth the headaches.
Well, that sounds pretty easy. Then get the darn ball to him.
You would think that.
All right, Rick May says Odell Beckham is exhausting to watch week after week. The game ends and you wonder what the story is going to be about this week.
That sounds like the football team as a whole, though.
Yes. Tim Bober, it's not worth the headache. Another one is not a good fit for this team. Carolyn Watkins says Odell Beckham is underutilized, ungrateful, and unhappy here. Larry Pantages says Odell Beckham is unlike anything Cleveland sports has ever seen. Oh, wait, LeBron, Kyrie, Johnny Manziel, Trevor Bauer, Albert Bell, stop me. Pretty good. Jay Slagle says Odell Beckham is disgruntled and underutilized. Kevin Malone, tired of playing with bad quarterbacks. What?
Wow.
He's already calling Baker a bad quarterback. I don't.
It's a little early for that.
A little early. There's plenty of time for that, believe me. Odell Beckham, according to John Leichleiter, is one and done. Melvin Stickle says done in Cleveland. Daniel Chick says Odell is a diva. Lynn Vargas, he's gone. He's going to Souvenir City. Who knew? That's an interesting. You can go any way with that. It's
an interesting mix of responses.
Yeah,
and I think, I think there's a little in the moment there, people seeing that report, but it's
for a guy, there's a lot of things you can say for him, but if he really is hurt, I give him a lot of credit because he's not easing up on anything. He's not gator arming anything. He's putting out 100%, I think. Unless I'm fooled
like
totally.
And you go back and watch that big nick-chubb run, and he's blocking off the line, and then he's blocking downfield, and we've seen a number of times in the run game when he has, run down the field and blocked. I don't think the effort is not there with him.
No, the effort is there.
I don't think that's been an issue at all.
And he hasn't begged off and said, I got this phony illness this week. I can't play.
Yeah, I mean, he could just say, you know what, I'm done. I want to shut it down. We're 6-7. I want to get ready for next season. But he hasn't done that yet.
We've had that in this town, by the way, in case you forgot.
That can be very
in a lot
easy.
of different sports.
Yeah, that can be very easy to do at the tail end of a season.
You got just a quick comment. I know you don't cover the Cavaliers. What's going on over there?
Oh, I don't even want to
It's
think
ugly.
about it. Yeah, it's bad. And Kevin Love potentially wanting out, maybe that's going to end up being a good thing for the Cavs, who I guess just need to kind of continue compiling assets.
Paul in Findlay says, if the Browns had played most of the season without Mayfield, Chubb, and Landry, is there any way they'd be 8-5? Change the names and you have the Steelers at this point.
I think people are being hard on Mayfield, and I get it. He hasn't played particularly well, and he wasn't good on
He's shown
Sunday.
flashes.
He's turned the ball over a lot, yes, but he has shown flashes. And I think this is a guy that's in his second year. There's still a lot of development, and I think there have been times when he has definitely helped this team win the games that they've won.
As you know, we have a voicemail of Truth and Reason where you can call and leave us a message when we're not on the air, and you can do that. Let's listen into what somebody had to say today.
Well, I would hope they'd bring Ron Rivera in as assistant head coach and let him take over that defense, whatever's left of that defense. But he's certainly got a better scheme than what we've been playing with all year. As far as the team goes, I don't know. We have injuries and this and that the same year in and year out. But, again, a lot of it deals with coaching, and then there's attitudes of some of these players. Not like the old days of Shaffer moving to the left, Morrow in the middle. Morrow in the middle, Hickerson and Clark to the right, Brewer in the right. Have a good day.
And they stay together for years and years and years. I haven't figured this out yet. I want to argue with the guy who's on tape. I haven't figured out how to not try to do that. You can use the voicemail of Truth and Reason by calling us at the number you see right there, 216-200-6650, any time of the day. We do the show live from 6 until 7, Monday through Friday, and that's Eastern time, by the way. But any other 23 hours of the day, 216-200-6650. Northfield Park is your home for live and simulcast racing. A lot of stuff coming up in the month of December, including the 14th. It's Santa Sack Fan Appreciation Night. Prize drawings, enter to win cash, gift cards, electronics, concert tickets, big screen TVs, and much more. Visit Santa from 6 to 9 p.m. It's free admission, free parking every day at Northfield Park. Sokolowski's University ends Sunday the 15th of December is the date. Time is 3 o'clock. It's the holiday wine tasting event. Now, I was at the wine tasting event earlier in the fall. It was phenomenal. It'll be the same. Call for information, 216-771-9236 to reserve your seat for the Sokolowski Holiday Wine Tasting event. And we'll come back in a moment. We've got Dan Labbe with us. More Sports and Les-levine continues in a moment, exclusively on cleveland.com.
Get your basement ready for the holidays.
We had a horrible storm that flooded our basement.
We had to take out that nasty moldy carpet.
And we never want to have to go through that again. That's when we called Nature's Stone.
And with Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty, you'll never have to replace your basement flooring again. For a limited time, get Nature's Stone installed now and pay nothing until next year. Payments as low as $99 a month. No interest, no down payment. Schedule your free cost estimate easily online today. It's not just a floor. Wow, it's Nature's Stone.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's Kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget. Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohio-lottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students, kindergarten through 12th grade, can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
All right, by the way, Bud Shaw will join us from WKYC TV, WKYC.com. That'll be tomorrow night from 6 until 7. Dan Labbe with us right now. We had the voicemail of Truth and Reason, and the suggestion was Ron Rivera. What do you think about that?
I think if the Browns decide to move on from Freddie-Kitchens, Ron Rivera is a guy they definitely should interview, especially because this is a guy that, Steve Wilkes worked under.
Right.
I know the caller mentioned Steve Wilkes' scheme. Well, he worked under Ron Rivera. I think you bring in Ron Rivera with, honestly, not much change needing to be made underneath him unless he wanted to do it.
Now, when he left Carolina, he had a press conference, said goodbye, went up person to person, man and woman, who covered him in the media, called him by name and thanked them for what they did for them. I've seen a lot of different coaches here with the Cleveland Browns. I can't imagine one of them doing that or even knowing more than 3 or 4 names.
Yeah, it's sort of what happens, though, when you struggle and you lose and you're criticized a lot. And I think people underestimate the Cleveland media market. They look at it as a small market, not when it comes to the Browns. There's a lot of people that cover this football team, and we aren't exactly easy on them.
Okay, time for How Come Quickies. Dan and I have voted we cannot use Toledo mics. We like it, but we can't use it. Right?
Yeah, sorry, Mike.
This is politically, How Come Quickies in the the non-politically correct days were somewhat funny, but I can't attach my name to it anymore. Although Toledo Mike comes back with a good one. How come I just bought batteries, but they were not included? That's a good one. What do you give it?
It's a good one. I'll give it a, it's a very Christmas themed with gifts coming up. I'll give it a 7.4.
7.4. That's not too bad. How come when I bought batteries, they were not included? I'm just killing time till I can get the papers separated. All right. Toledo Mike comes up with another one. How come I just got arrested for scalping low numbers at the deli? Now serving 17 or whatever.
I'm going to give that one a little higher. I like that one. We're going to go 8.1.
8.1.
Yeah.
Mr. Gullible comes in with double duty. How come some M&Ms went to school so they could become Smarties? It's a candy quickie.
We'll go I'm going to go a little lower than Toledo Mike. I'm going to go 7.2.
No
Still gets in
kidding.
the sevens, but
Mr. Gullible, I know he's going to email me when I got to turn down the other one. Don't ask me why. Just accept the fact that it's a decision.
Sometimes you have to do that.
So you got to make decisions. It's like clock management.
In-game adjustments.
I know he's writing me right now. Les, I didn't mean it. I know. I love Mr. Gullible, but sometimes I got to use my veto power. What do we have here? John Patrick says, how come when my wife said, didn't you hear me calling you? I said, no, not the first 2 times.
Let's go 8.5.
8.5 is a winner for the
not?
day. We got to give prizes out. Hey, Mike, we got to give prizes out. Where's the voice of God coming through? It's not. Okay, we'll figure out a way. Some of these are too good to just let go. All right, that'll do it for us unless you have a final comment. Browns in Arizona this week. What do you think?
I think they should go there and win that football game.
On the ground.
On the ground, hopefully. Arizona, again, another team that's not a good defense. At the very least, for as crazy as this season has been, you still have meaningful football in December.
How about that? If they win this week, I don't know if they're favorite or not favorite on the road. If they win this week, they'll be at 7-7.
I know.
Right? With all the stuff that's gone on.
Everything that's happened. Like I said, they've won 4 out of 5, and it honestly doesn't even feel like it.
All right, great job by Dan Labbe. We appreciate it very much. We'll see you tomorrow. Bud Shaw with us. Of all the shows I've ever done, this was the most recent.